podcast for heroes in the world of Overwatch. This is The Payload.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 5 of The Payload. We are an Overwatch podcast from BlizzPro.com. I'm John Horstman. I push the buttons every week, and with me, of course, got a ragtag crew of sexiness. First, don't give me that look. From California, it is Jimmy Bloxham. Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, good to be back here again, and I'm glad we didn't skip just because of some silly holiday.
Yeah, me too. Black Friday.
Black Friday!
Oh my gosh.
So I hope no one got hurt this year.
Me too. Yeah.
Oh man.
I hate it when people get hurt because I think it's ridiculous, but I also love watching the crazy Black Friday videos where like people are storming the gates and running people over and like breaking the metal barriers and stuff to get in. It's hilarious.
Yeah, people watching is a good activity on Black Friday. If you're into that, it can be pretty fun.
From Canada, over there shaking his head in disdain, it is Kevin Hovdestad. Hey, Kev.
What's up, John? I don't know. I mean, Black Friday is not really, like, it's a thing up here now because we've got most of the same retailers that you guys do, but I hate it. I hate everything about it. I was at the coffee shop this morning, like 6:30, which is not normal for me. I'd normally be sound asleep. And the lady's like, "Oh, are you on your way to go shopping?" And I just looked at her. I was like, "No, God, no, never." Because that's the last place I want to be, is getting trampled by a bunch of like gift crazed 40-something moms who think they can save $12 on a package of, I don't even care what. Like, no, it's just not my idea of a good time.
Well, we are of the tribe who just likes to kind of wait in line online for those things anyways. So I'm really waiting for Monday. If I'm going to buy anything anyway, usually Monday is where it is. I don't need a cheap $300 TV. That's normally $600. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you guys so much for joining us for episode number 5. If you are listening to us on the audio podcast, thank you so much. And if you'd like to, you can come check us out on video every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/BlizzPro. Otherwise, keep on listening, man. It's okay. Or woman, girl, dude, dudette, whatever.
Lady bro.
Lady bro. That means it's time for the news.
This week in Overwatch.
All right, pretty slow week, so I don't anticipate we'll have to spend a whole lot of time in the news this week, but we did have one fairly big thing. We just got done with our first stress test weekend in the beta. We got a huge, or felt pretty large, beta invite wave, as well as a huge stress test weekend invite wave, and yeah, it's been pretty crazy. So how was your guys' experience with Overwatch this weekend with the stress test beta going on?
I had a lot of fun just because I got to play with more people that have been wanting to play Overwatch. I got to play with my girlfriend and one of the other BlizzPro writers, and we all got in to a party of like 4 people, and we just had fun just screwing around in the game. I mean, we at one point all of us that were in the party went all divas and just stormed the map, and it was really fun and silly and totally ineffective, but it was fun.
You've always been a diva anyway.
Whoa.
This is true.
Kev, how about you, man?
It was good. Lots of people I knew were in the stress test, and so I got to see a lot of friends who were poking around in the game for the first time, people that obviously didn't get to play it at, Overwatch or Gamescom or PAX or any of those kinds of places. So it was the first time a lot of people touched the game, and the response seemed really positive to me. The game had a couple of brief service interruptions, which actually is a good thing in my mind. It means that the stress test was successful. They actually pushed the boundaries of the hardware a little bit for what they're currently capable of supporting given the server allocations for this game. But yeah, I was really excited. Played some in-house games with some friends, just messing around. On the whole, I think it was really nice to see that they were also doing closed beta invites as part of their stress test weekends. So new people were going to join as part of the stress test weekend, but also continue to play in the beta after that. And my hope is that that's something they continue with so that the size of the beta continues to grow. Since we're only, at this point, I'm guessing, expecting maybe a few more of these weekends, like 3 or 4 between now and launch. There's no more this year is what they've said because of the holidays. And I would be shocked if there were any right away in early 2016. And we are still expecting this game to come out next spring. So maybe 3, maybe 4, and that'll be it.
Yeah, if even that. I mean, I think it's honestly maybe 2, maybe 3 is kind of what I was thinking overall. But what do you think, Jimmy?
I think I'm leaning more towards the maybe 4 to 5, maybe once a month, maybe once the new year starts. But maybe I'm being a little ambitious on that. And I just thought I didn't really understand why they restricted the map pool, and I think that kind of showed, at least me from I played probably 5 or 6 hours over the beta weekend, and it did get a little stale after a while because you only had the 3 same maps in the map pool, and I think that kind of emphasized how important new maps are for this game. Just because the environments are so much of the game.
Well, we saw 3, right? We saw 3 this last weekend, and there is 8 total
right now. Yeah.
So, I mean, double that and then some, and that's how many maps you've got. Do you think they still need more before launch?
I have a theory on that, but it'll probably come up later in the show as we talk about some of the other stuff that we're going to go through on the gameplay design side. So,
all right,
how about
fair
we
enough.
maybe jump into that?
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, pretty quiet week. Everyone was too busy playing Overwatch for the stress test weekend, and so we didn't really get any real news, exciting thing. But there was a pretty cool video that came out. Trollden, if you play Hearthstone, you're probably pretty familiar with Trollden. He does the top 10 plays, kind of funny, wacky, or awesome, whatever. And he does awesome work, and he's doing a lot of stuff with Overwatch. I know he was one of the few who kind of was invited from by Blizzard to kind of do a lot of like the pre-testing of the game with guys like Elohim and others like that. So he's had his hands on the game for a while, probably because they want him to produce video content for it. And came out with a really interesting video with 2 guys, Zeno and Suns Fan, called The Top 10 Things We Hate About Overwatch. And it's really interesting. They definitely grab you at the title because it sounds like doom and gloom, and it's really not that bad. So spoiler alert, it's not as bad as it sounds, but we just wanted to go ahead and take some time and chat about it on the show and kind of give our perspective on kind of what they thought, because I think there's a lot of really good valid points, and I think we probably have some dissenting opinions as well. So we're going to just go ahead and jump on in, and yeah, let's do it. So first and foremost is number 10, no spectator mode. Let's talk about this a little bit. No spectator mode in Overwatch, ... yet. What do you guys think?
It's coming. It has to come. It was something that was always, it's always a late addition for Blizzard, because at this point, especially given the nature of this test, they wanted the game out the door. There was no spectator mode in Hearthstone when it launched. Spectator features and functionality in StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, took time to get up to the level they're at now for competitive broadcasts and people to stream when there's 2 organized groups playing against each other. I'm sure it's probably one of the easiest things for them to do is to introduce a real spectator option, but it's not a priority right now. Like it would have no useful bearing because only a limited number of people are playing this game, and they're trying to test the game, right? Balance the game, look for issues that might come up as far as engine performance, character balance, map errors. I remember like funny story being at PAX and watching Dustin Browder make notes because he was going to go back and tell the Overwatch guys he saw somebody get stuck on an invisible thing that they were clipping on in one point on one of the maps. And it's like, that's the stuff they're looking for. Spectator mode is just like, I would almost guarantee it's probably done already and they just have to flip a switch, and they're not going to flip that switch in beta.
What do you think, Jimmy?
What I felt what they meant by no spectator mode was more the fact that there's no like Half-Life TV kind of functionality where if there's a tournament going on, you can all watch in the client itself. And I'd be surprised if they actually do that, just because they have never done that for any of their games ever. So it would surprise me in that way. And I expect the spectator mode, quote unquote, that's already in the client will improve. But yeah, I kind of agree with them on this point that it's a little bit unfortunate that there's no way to watch other people play. And they actually mentioned it again later, but about replays. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, the no spectator mode is kind of an interesting point. But like you said, it's really, really early in this beta. We're still 7 months away from this game being released. So I mean, there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do think obviously it's a no-brainer. There needs to be some sort of client to be able to kind of objectively look at games so that you can host tournaments and make this a viable esport, which Blizzard has basically said from the outset is, well, we're betting big on Overwatch and Heroes for esports, and you can't really do that if you don't really have a way to watch it. So there's definitely going to be something. Jimmy, I like your point though, is it going to be kind of as robust as like Half-Life TV, or is it going to kind of be more of like the Heroes of the Storm route where it's kind of homebrewed for a little bit, some stuff is baked in and kind of in between? Hopefully better than Hearthstone, which is absolutely just kind of nothing as far as the like showing of how to do it. Just flip your cards upside down when you're watching two people, it's just kind of kind of gross right now. So I hope they do better.
For what it's worth, we do know that Blizzard has posted a job just recently for a global director of esports for Overwatch. Like, they are looking to make this. They are going to double down on it. But again, it's super early beta. They don't probably want people trying to compete in the game in the state that it's in right now. Like, that seems insane to me.
I totally agree with that one. Let's go on to number 9. Possible hero homogenization. So heroes feeling too similar, not having enough personality or differentiable traits in Overwatch. What do you guys think about this one?
100% disagree. Straight up, I think the heroes have good variety. I feel like the characterization is unique. And if you just run down a list in terms of comparing characters by like mobility, range, accuracy, verticality, how much they can move up and down vertically on the map, I think there's enough differentiation points already that, I mean, you could make the argument that like maybe you don't need two characters like McCree / Reaper / Soldier 76 who all kind of play to the same function. But I mean, it's a role driven game. There's going to be tanks that play like tanks, and they all are designed to accomplish the same thing using a slightly different toolkit. When the job is kill the other guy, there's only so many ways you can make that feel unique, right?
Yeah, those three though are so different in how they play. I mean, that's just furthering your point of that this is a silly argument, I think. And yeah, that when I was watching the video, I was like, really? That's something you're gonna go down that route for complaining about that? And their example was Soldier 76 and that he's too basic, but that's what I kind of like about him. You just have a standard FPS character in the game, which is nice. And he has a self heal or a group heal as well. So I mean, he's not just a run and gun guy. He does have some utility as well.
I wish they would have renamed number 9 as to Soldier 76 could have something a little bit more memorable, because that's really what it feels like. Because I mean, in the end, he has a machine gun, he has this little self heal, and he has this cool little visor that lets him go ham for his ultimate. And ultimately, of all the players, he is the Mario of Mario Kart, where he's just basic, that stat block across. And yes, there definitely is and needs to be a place for that in Hearthstone. I mean, even if it's just for the tutorial. But I mean, I get what they're saying. And if you add more characters, what does that start to look like? If you take Soldier 76 completely out, all of a sudden I don't see really any similarities between like McCree and Reaper. But when you enter Soldier 76 in, all of a sudden those three kind of start to feel a little bit more similar. And I think maybe that's what they're talking about. I still disagree. Kev, I'm with you. I think we've talked about it since week one and even before the show. Like, the individual heroes are so incredible and so well done that you want to play all of them. You feel for them. The guy who wrote the stories about them is crying on stage about them. Like, you've got all these different things going for the differentiation of these Overwatch heroes that I just don't really think that that's a fair assessment at all.
Well, and let's not be too hasty to dismiss the fact that there are going to be people who like each character, right? People are going to identify with each character for different reasons. The characters all have, at this point, very unique, like racial/geographic backgrounds. They're all very unique in terms of where they hail from, who voice acts them, how they play in games. Some people want characters that move really fast. Some people want characters that have bigger hit point pools. Some people want characters that shoot and can lob and abuse physics and shoot stuff over ledges. Like, there's enough variety right now that I feel like if you took any one character out, somebody would be really disappointed because that was a character they really personally enjoyed and identified with. And I if anything, I just think there's room to do more. Like, I think there's room for more variety, not less.
Let's go on to number 8. Number 8, no replays currently in
Yawn.
Overwatch outside of,
Yawn. Of course they're going to introduce replays. Every Blizzard game has replays except for Hearthstone. Yawn.
Is there replays in WoW?
Not in the like traditional sense,
Oh,
but you get
just
logs,
kidding.
right? They do it using exported logs. So it's kind of the same thing. Like every Blizzard game writes a data file that can be read by either the game client or a third-party tool to show you what happened during the game. Hearthstone's kind of an anomaly in that it's all being done by interface, like visual tracking. But Here's the Storm, StarCraft, the reason their replay system works the way that it does is because it's just a data file. And when you watch a replay, it's literally the game running through a series of text files and data points and recreating it more or less in real time for you. Warcraft, you could do the exact same thing with a combat log. Overwatch will be different, but I guarantee you it's something that they're going to do because there's so much demand for it. People want to be able to go back and find the cool moment they pulled off and, you know, grab a highlight of it, export it to YouTube, whatever. Of course they're going to do it. Like, of course. It's kind of silly to complain about something like this because it's not what you would see. Like, it's not a beta feature. It's not the kind of thing that any company would.
Yeah, I agree. And all their hardcore competitive games besides Hearthstone have really had replay functionality. So I'd be shocked if we don't see this at launch, if not shortly thereafter.
Well, and especially, again, if they want to go the esport route, if you're going to have a competitive esport scene, anybody who's going to do like play-by-play analysis or put together content reels for esport like events and rebroadcasts and stuff has to be able to do that. We're not just going to try and do that using like mediocre quality Twitch exports. Like, it's going to have to be done in the game client. If anything, like Hearthstone is still the standalone, like confusing absentee on the list of Blizzard games that has replay functionality, and I don't think Overwatch is going to get added to that list.
I would love a replay functionality in Hearthstone, by the way. That'd be so freaking beneficial.
So good.
Yeah, and I think the thing about a replay system is it doesn't just benefit those content creators. It's going to help the players themselves, because if they're able to get a hold of some higher level replays, they can see how other players are playing, and that will up the entire community's play level higher, which will make the game just more enjoyable in general.
Yeah, or if they were able to do something like with what StarCraft did, where you could jump in and assume command of a replay from a particular point and say, okay, I want to jump into that competitive scenario from the perspective of that Roadhog player and see if I can pull off that hook or that ult or whatever. There would be tons of opportunities there for people to really just enjoy the game in a whole nother way. And I would be, again, super shocked. I mean, even just to be able to pick up a competitive game that crashes, right? If there's any kind of like pause or issue, competitive scene is going to want that kind of stuff. It seems, again, kind of like a no-brainer.
Number 7. We need more gameplay variety. All right, guys, let's talk about it. How bad do you want to see another gameplay, another game type in Overwatch?
Yes. I
All
mean,
right,
is this a question? I'm not sure.
expound.
So the
Is this
problem,
enough? That's the question, right? Is currently right now payload plus what do they call it? They don't call it
Point
control.
capture.
Point capture. Is that enough to carry Overwatch into the competitive scene and even just to being a popular, fun to play game for longer than a few weeks or months?
I mean, no, and I think Blizzard has admitted that already in the interviews they've done with like PC Gamer and like major outlets. They've already said that what you see in beta, they are actively working on improving, but on the side, they're constantly iterating on new ideas. They tried CTF, weren't happy with it. They tried multiple point capture, like King of the Hill type stuff with 3 or 5 simultaneous points to be captured. Didn't like it. Like, it's not like they're not aware of it and trying. Honestly, and this is what I alluded to earlier when we were talking about that other stuff. I think the problem is the maps. Like, I think to introduce new game types, you have to introduce new maps because all of the existing maps are designed for a very like flow driven, you move one direction style of gameplay. You're always contesting one particular point, and then if you lose that point, you back up and you start contesting the next one. If you wanted to have different types of games that don't involve payloads or point capture, you might need symmetrical maps, or you might need maps with more verticality where more small skirmishes could occur. You might need basically just maps that don't have the same like one directional layout that all 8 of the current maps do. That would be my concern, because it's even to make the game work the way it does now, you have to play each map from both sides, attack and defend. It's not like you can just say, okay, these two teams are going to meet in the middle and fight over this moving objective or other thing, and whoever wins. You push one direction or the other. Like, even if it was a payload map where you had to push the payload the other direction, and now it's like whichever team controls it is pushing it towards their opponents. I don't know, but there's lots of stuff there that doesn't really work with the way the maps are designed today.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Like,
Are you sure?
I'd like to see. Yeah, yes, I do.
I think so. Yeah.
I just would like something different than the point capture slash payload mode that we already have. I feel like it'll get stale pretty quick, at least for casual players. Maybe for the top higher end of gameplay, it won't be as stale as people learn compositions and counter compositions and all that kind of stuff, and really expound on just the deep level of strategy. Like we've talked about it before in past episodes, of just how the amount of heroes and learning their counters and everything is going to be such a key thing to learn with this game. That might be just part of the gameplay variety that they're going for, but I do think that we need some sort of other mode as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this game is about as fun and fulfilling and long lasting as it can get with only 2 different game types, which is a good thing. That's a compliment, but there is definitely more to be done in order to make this game it just doesn't quite feel like a Blizzard game, you know? Almost feels kind of like an iOS game or something where you've got really fun gameplay and you've got a couple maps and then you're like, that's it.
It's also funny to me because there's maybe an absence of critical thought here a little bit in this video, because they just finished saying how they don't like the fact that there are characters that have any overlap in design whatsoever, because now there's too many and they play too much the same. But then they turn around and say we don't have enough variety in game types. Well, you're going to get more game types that play similar but different. Like, I think that's going to be fundamental to the game. You're never going to get team deathmatch. You're never going to get deathmatch or free for all. You're never going to get CTF. Like, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't fit the theme of this game. So there's going to be overlap. There's always going to be that like contest a point, control a node type of gameplay in Overwatch. And you can ask for more variety, but I think that variety is going to come from like subtle differences, a lot of which will be defined by map variety. That's my take.
Let's go on to number 5 here. And I thought this one was really interesting. And
You skipping 6?
Yes. Let's go on to number 6 here because number 5 needs to wait. Number 6, no new content until release. Is this confirmed?
Yes. I believe so.
I mean, I know they said like we're not planning any new heroes, we're not planning any new maps, but does that mean there's no new content until release?
I mean, it depends how you define that word, right? If they add game modes or features like ranked player stuff, that's not content in the strictest definition of that word. There will not be new content in the sense that you won't get any more playable characters, playable maps, like that stuff is done. If they add new features, interface updates, game modes, stuff like that, I mean, I think there's a lot of work to be done there, and I think that's the stuff that has to happen between now and release, because the game right now, the game when you're in the game is fun to play, but getting to that point and how it feels with no player profile, no stats tracking, no kill feed, no modification of your heads up display in game, like that's the stuff that makes it feel like it's unfinished and not up to Blizzard standards. But more content before release, I mean, honestly, I don't think that's a valid complaint, and I think the game feels pretty, like, as a self-contained parcel of content, pretty good, and obviously for it to succeed long term, they're going to have to add more content post-release. So complaining that we're not getting more during a closed beta that's just supposed to be for balance testing and stuff, not for like pre-early access type beta that every other Blizzard game has had, I don't know. That feels like somebody who made a video and said, hey, I want more stuff because I can play this game and other people can't.
And it's only been in beta for almost exactly 1 month, right? And wasn't it October 27th? Yeah.
Yeah.
So come on, guys.
Right.
Come on. Let's go on to number 5 here. Mm-hmm. This, I think, is one of the more interesting points. Lack of supports in the game. So for those of you who are just diving into Overwatch, there are different roles in the game. There's offense, defense. They call it offense, right? Offense, defense, tanks, and supports. Mm-hmm. And so supports are usually kind of the more Healy type, but they support in different ways. And currently right now there are 4 of them. What do you guys think? Are there enough supports in the game? Does there need to be something different?
This is a tough one. It does kind of feel like there needs to be something a little different, but I'm not really sure necessarily precisely what needs to be different. And I feel like both Lucio and Mercy just have such solid roles right now that they're kind of the runaway 2 supports that you're going to see in competitive, at least. So, yeah, I'm not sure what needs to be done, but maybe there's not really a problem there, and it's okay that the 4 supports are so different from each other. I'm not really sure 100%.
What do you think, Kev?
I guess I mean, I like all 4 of the existing supports, and I think this is, again, a comment that comes from somebody who just looked at the interface and went, oh, there's only 4 support characters. Like, there are other characters who offer benefits to their team, whether that's the tank shields that can be put up to protect the team, whether that's armor packs coming from a Torbjorn or something. Like, you can't just have the same number of every role, and fundamentally having a support on your team is great, but if you talk to anybody who plays this game at a like mediocre to good level, they want a support basically so that people can retreat back behind the tank and get topped off if they survive an engagement and they're trading shots from behind a shield from a tank. There's not a lot of room for more or better supports in the game because people still need to be able to kill each other. Like, this is not a MOBA. If it took hundreds of shots to whittle a guy down, it would suck. Like, you need to be able to kill somebody efficiently. So you can only have so many variations on supports. And actually, funnily enough, to your point earlier about Soldier 76, there's another character. It's an offense character that has the ability to heal his teammates. So I think there's already like some blurred lines as far as what does or doesn't constitute the support role. And I don't want to see them just add more so that there's the same number of pictures underneath each of the 4 categories, because that seems insane.
Kind of homogenized too. Everyone's the same amount, and Every role
Again,
has to have the same
hilarious
amount of,
considering.
everyone has the
Yeah.
same amount of characters. Yeah, totally with you. All right, number 4. I hate this argument. Cross-platform release. Let's talk about it.
I think it's a non-issue. And yeah, being able to play cross-platform would have been nice, but it's just that's something that's never going to happen. I think bringing this new IP to console is really smart on Blizzard's part. I mean, bringing uh, their games to a whole new audience that I'm sure they're aware of Blizzard, but they're like, oh, they're only PC games. They're going to see this on console and be like, oh, I'll check that out. And I I don't have a huge problem with it. I'm unfortunately probably going to be buying the game twice so I can play with my friends on PS4. But yeah, that's because I'm a Blizzard fanboy though. So that it is what it is.
I just don't think it's a super serious complaint, right? How many games out there have cross-platform releases where you can play against people from multiple different consoles, let alone including PC? That's a very short list, for one. For two, PC players slaughter console players. Not because it's not going to be a great game on console. I will probably play more of this on Xbox One than I will on PC, just for the simple fact that it's going to be beautiful on a 60-inch plasma TV with me sitting with my feet kicked up on a couch. And I like shooters on consoles. Like, it's one of the things I've always enjoyed on consoles. We were talking earlier before the show about how I haven't played a PC shooter since like Dark Forces 2 Jedi Outcast or whatever the hell. But like, I've been playing Call of Duty and Gears of War and all these other games on console and really enjoying them. So I don't really want to sit down to enjoy that after a couple of drinks on a weekend with my friends on console and just be getting murdered over and over again by PC players. That's not my idea of a good time. And honestly, this is the type of game from the type of company that will probably sell enough copies that you're not going to be like sitting and waiting for 10 minutes to get a game because you're playing it on Xbox instead of on PC. I do not think that is a serious likelihood of a problem.
Yeah, I hate this argument. How dare you make this game available to more people? Because nobody's going out to buy a PC because it's not on Xbox because of this game. Let's be honest. No. So, sure, there is that aspect of, who's going to be the prevailing esport, type platform, which, spoiler alert, is probably going to be PC. But, besides that fact, like I don't know. I just think it's a kind of a silly, lazy argument that just because I can play it on more platforms and, it's more available to me means that it's actually bad for some reason. So I don't like that. Let's go to number 3, but we're going to skip right past it because we know one's coming. Lack of ranking/achievement system. Guys, there's one coming. They've said it. They're on like their 3rd or 4th iteration now of a ranking system. Achievement stuff I haven't heard a whole lot about, but as far as ranking systems go, they had one in like early alpha. They went through another one. Didn't like it. They were last on their 3rd release, the last one I heard about. So they're working on it. What else needs to be said about this?
What needs to be said is that there's an entire generation of people who have grown up with the notion that the word beta means early access. And there's a whole string of people complaining on Reddit that they would buy the game if their pre-order gave them early access because they want to get ahead of other people and play the game before other people. This is a beta. Beta is for testing. Of course, they're not going to give you player profiles and stats tracking and ranking because they don't want you to play the game for that purpose. They don't want that to be what this game is about. You are given access to this game, a very narrow sliver of this game, specifically to test the gameplay. You're not going to get non-gameplay features. Every non-gameplay feature I want in this game, there's no sense talking about right now because I'm not going to see it until the game actually releases next spring. In 6 months, the game will have ranked play, player profiles, stats tracking, online profiles, the ability for you to manage your like in-game relationship with your friends. We've already seen data mining stuff for like sprays and a bunch of other stuff. Like, of course, there's more stuff coming, but they want you to go in, push the play button, and go play the game. And then they can generate data that says, hey, this game is balanced, or hey, new players don't know how to beat Bastion. Let's do something about that. That's the stuff they're trying to deal with, not letting you see exactly how many noobs you've pwned. That's not what this is for.
Disagree.
Yeah.
It's all about how many noobs you've pwned.
Yeah, I mean,
God.
come on. Diva even says it.
Yep. That's the name of the game. It's a first person shooter. Okay, Kevin? Shooter. No, I totally agree with you, Kevin. I mean, there's going to be some sort of achievement system. I'm sure there's going to be obviously a ranking system. We're going to have replays. We're going to have spectating. We're going to have all that stuff before it gets out of here. So just chill out, okay? Let's go to number 2 because this one makes me so angry because I still don't understand this argument. The payment model is unclear. Let's talk about this, guys. What do you think? The payment model is unclear. Top 10 things we hate about Overwatch. That's number 2.
I think this is a very valid argument, actually. And if we look at other FPSs, we've kind of seen their communities get fragmented by DLCs and stuff like that. So I think that's the concern here, is that they're going to announce a DLC of map packs and heroes or something like that, and all of a sudden, if you don't have the base game plus this $40 DLC pack, you're not going to be able to play with your friends or whatever. And that actually does concern me a little bit, that they're not really saying anything about that. But I guess it's Blizzard time, so they just want to get the game out the door, and then we'll hear more about it. I mean, even if they announced that they were going to have a bunch of DLCs post-launch, I would still be buying this game just because the base game itself is good enough on its own right now, I feel like.
Kev.
But, okay, honestly, I will give this complaint credibility in that of the things we've talked about on this list, it's the one that I at least can identify the causality of. I can understand why people have this frustration, and it's because this genre has a fairly well-defined way of handling post-release content. FPS in general has this notion that you pay a one-time upfront cost for access to the game, and then they add DLC in little buckets as the game evolves over a period of X amount of time, where you're going to spend another, we'll say, $30 to $60 over the course of a couple of years to add content in parcels of a certain size. And you know that going in because you've played in this genre across all sorts of different games, whether it's a Call of Duty or a Destiny or a PC equivalent. Like, there's always been a known, understood thing going in. If you want to go play any other shooter right now, even shooters that are in like development, right? Say, simple sake of argument, there's a future Call of Duty. Without ever touching any information about it online, you know full well that you'll buy the game. And if you don't purchase the first $15 map pack that comes out 4 months later, your multiplayer experience will be siloed with other people who didn't purchase that $15 map pack. We don't know that. We don't know how Blizzard's going to handle new characters, new maps, new game modes. And how that's going to work is a consideration. It's a kind of a weak argument because I think most people are just going to buy the new content if they want it and feel if there's a good value there, or not if they don't. And that's the same as every other game since the dawn of game creation, right? But I would like to know. Like, I would like to know if it's going to be in-game microtransactions versus, twice yearly DLC packs. I would like to know that they're planning on Overwatch being a 5-year game, not an annual release, and Overwatch 2 is coming in 2017. Like, yeah, sure. Those are valid questions. And because it's a brand new thing from a brand new developer, we don't know that. And Blizzard could just end all of this conversation by getting in front of that. Like, that's a 5-minute interview with any press outlets to say, hey, what we're thinking right now is biannual DLC packs with new characters and maps if we've got good ones. The end. That would be it. And that could change. But at least they would have said something. And saying nothing right now, I think, is what's bothering people.
Yeah, I get it. At the same time, like, there's a couple of things that I really, really hate about this argument. Number one, sure, map packs can potentially fragment player bases and stuff like that. And yeah, we've seen it happen from time to time. Whatever. But at the same time, not really. I don't really think that's a valid argument. Halo's done it. Destiny's done it. The people who are passionate about the games are going to pay the game. Blizzard is going to support this game for as long as they think it's going to be a competitive game. Poll. How long does a typical Blizzard game last? Kevin, how long are they usually supported? How long? I mean, WoW, 11 years, right? Just celebrated 11 years. I know it's different. Yes, we've had expansions, but there's been no WoW 2. There's been nothing like that. What about this one I actually don't know. StarCraft 2. How long has that been going?
Coming up on 6 years. Yeah. I mean, and that, but see there again, like you're kind of making their argument for them. People knew going in before StarCraft 2 ever hit shelves, Blizzard got up on stage and said, we're going to release it as 3 standalone game clients, a base game and 2 expansions. And that was a known thing going in. They did a really great job. Even like the product cycle for Warcraft, Diablo, like we know there's going to be another Diablo 3 expansion. They said that before the game came out. And I think that is a reasonable expectation. Like Blizzard has set that expectation in the way they've managed all of their other IPs. I don't think it's fair to criticize Overwatch or how good the game is or what state the beta is in based on the fact that you don't know how your post-launch payment plan is going to work. But I understand why people expect it, because Blizzard themselves have set that precedent.
I mean, I think, though, the fact that Blizzard has also set the precedent that we're going to support our games and keep providing content for it, and it's not free, I think, like, that also sets the precedent. I mean, regardless if they do it in sprays or regardless if they do it in DLC, either way, you know, they're going to do it, and the game is going to cost more money in doing that. Now, as another note, Hearthstone did not have a payment model. They did say they're going to come out with more cards. They didn't say how they were going to do that. They didn't say how they were going to get it or support it. Like the adventure when it first came out was a huge surprise. No one had any idea that they would try to go this adventure route. Everyone just assumed that it was going to be like Magic, and they come out with a new expansion like Goblins versus Gnomes, where it's just this big, you know, barf of a bunch of different cards. Now, yes, I agree. Hearthstone is one game, but it is, you know, they're one of their newest games, and they haven't been totally honest with that. And they've even said in the past that there's more ways they're thinking about integrating cards into the game. There's no doubt we're going to see more stuff for Overwatch, but I don't think that, you know, basically anyone knows that you got to support the game. I highly doubt that it's just going to be sprays. I just don't see them do that, or, you know, skins and things like that. I just highly doubt it. It's got to be DLC. It's really the only way that works well in like Xbox and PlayStation stores, which is a big part of it. And I think it's just a no-brainer. They're going to do it. They're going to do it DLC. Some people are going to hate it and say that, well, now I can't play because I don't want to pay for map packs, and go, well, we're Blizzard and we support our games for a long time, and this is the money that we need to continue to support the games. End of story.
I mean, I agree with you, but like with Hearthstone, that was baked in from the day the game went live. There was a little shop button. You knew how it was going to work. You went in, you could buy packs. This is a gap in a game that's going to come out in 6 months for people to not know how any of that stuff is going to work. And I think it's a reasonable thing just because they're not saying it. And like you and I are on the same page here. I totally agree with you. It has to be DLC because it has to work in the console marketplace. That's the only way. Like you can't release a sequel. You can't release like a microtransaction in-game store, and they are going to want the experience to be consistent between PC and console. I guarantee that. So yeah, it's going to be DLC packs. So just come out and say that. Like just say what we're thinking right now is, as we have new content, we're not committing to any timelines. We'll release DLC packs that contain new heroes and new maps, new game modes, whatever new content we're going to provide for the game. The end. Like, it's just silly. It's silly to do this dance where a whole bunch of people are going to get angry on forums and Facebook and Reddit saying, why aren't they telling us how expensive this game will be after it launches?
Part. That's the silly part.
It is silly, but it's equally silly for them to sit in their like gigantic glass buildings in Southern California being like, we have no idea how we're going to charge for this game. We're still in discussions. No, you're not. Like, you know, just say it. Just end all of the dumb arguments. Make my Reddit experience better, Blizzard. Please make my Reddit experience better by telling all these people why they are so insane.
So I
That's what I
totally believe Blizzard though. I totally believe Blizzard that if they say that they're still in discussions on how it works, I mean, they know it's going to be DLC, but let's say a lot of people, are insane over the moon for all the sprays and stuff like that. Like that means that those map packs can cost less because, well, there's so many people forking money over for the sprays and the skins and things like that. Like, and yeah, I know your point as well. They can just say there's going to be some sort of DLC. We have no idea on what that price is going to be yet. We just need to see how it goes to find out what we need to keep it going. But at the same time, like Blizzard does not owe the gamers anything as far as pricing goes for the future. I don't think that's something that you owe your customers. It's just something that is kind of built into it, and trust. Blizzard's built off of trust with their gamers. I mean, I'll highlight you two even more than me because you two are huge into the Blizzard universe. Like, you guys totally know and you get it and you trust it. Like, come on, isn't this getting a little overblown?
Okay, absolutely, it's overblown. Like the reaction from the community is categorically insane. Like these people are talking about this like it's keeping them up at night. Like they can't dress themselves in the morning because they've forgotten how to. They just have to know how Overwatch DLC is going to be priced before they can dress themselves in the morning. And no, that's obviously totally out to lunch. But I just don't understand why we wouldn't just address it. And like I would absolutely believe Blizzard if they turn around and said, we're still discussing the pricing model, but we're planning right now around a package of DLC that includes new skins, maps, and characters as they are available or whatever. And those things could change. Maybe there won't be more skins. Maybe there'll be skins but no characters. Maybe there will be maps but no skins. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But just say that stuff. And especially because it does make some difference to people, I think, whether it's cosmetic or not, right? If I need map packs to play the full multiplayer experience versus purchasing a skin that makes my Reinhardt look like he's covered in glitter, like, yeah, I don't really need glitter Reinhardt, but I do need new maps. That's not an unreasonable thing to want to know. I just don't see any reason to dance around that indefinitely, considering they want this game to be out playable in 6 months, and people are telling them right now that they're making their decision as to whether or not they pre-purchase or even potentially buy the game based on that information. Like, there's no way that this blows up in Blizzard's face when they say, yeah, we're going to do DLC. And people go, I can't believe you do DLC. No one does DLC. Like, those people, they can afford to just set loose because who cares? But it's a valid question and there's no reason to dodge it.
I think the number of people who are actually, they just want Blizzard to say what they're planning just for the sake of doing what they're planning. If they play Overwatch and they enjoy Overwatch and to the level that we've enjoyed past Blizzard games, pricing is not really going to be an option for 99.9% of people. Let's be honest here. Yes, there's that some people are like, I really want to play, look at Hearthstone. There's a lot of my friends who can play Hearthstone because it's free. They can't play WoW because, well, that's, $60 expansion every 2 years plus, $15 a month. That's a several $100 investment where, yep, I get it. But at the same time, number one, it's going to console and you know that your $60 is going to get you a good long time of playing. And it's not like 2 months later, they're going to come out with a new map pack. And now over the course of 3 months, you just paid $100 for, 5 additional maps and some sprays and stuff like that. That's not going to happen.
I mean, I agree with you, which is why it seems so insane that they can't just put that out in the community in some fashion. A simple interview with Kaplan where he says, yep, right now, this is what we're thinking. We don't know because we don't know if we want more characters or more maps. We're still working on the details, but we're thinking about it. And if we do go the route of post-release content, this is our current trajectory, subject to change. Like, it's a beta, nothing's final. It just seems very odd to be very cagey about this particular subject when everything else they're very willing to talk about. If it is in dev or subject to change, they just say that. It's weird that they're so, like, especially once they announced the price model, right? Like, before they said it was going to be a $60 flat cost to buy the game, I could understand it. Now that that's out there, you're no longer saying like, well, it might be a free-to-play game, so we might need an in-game store where you can buy hats for Tracer and she can run around in a top hat. Like, that's not going to happen anymore. We know that. So just say that. I don't know. It is a, I think, weird place to be when the community is I don't think being super unreasonable, like the way they're describing it and phrasing it is totally out to lunch, but I don't know. We have been on this subject.
They're finding a reason to complain.
People are going to gripe about something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if these are the things that people are complaining about Overwatch, I think Overwatch is in a pretty good spot.
It's a good point. I like that. We got to go to number Jimmy one wins. Here. We're going long. Good job, Jimmy. the man over there. All right. So number one, I don't even know if we should spend time on this. Not enough people in beta. So yeah. Well, it's a beta. Yes, we want to play with more people. But
yeah, I kind of understand the argument a little bit because they just patched in a matchmaking system, and if you don't have enough people in that matchmaking system, I feel like it's not going to do a good job. But we don't know the numbers, so who knows?
Well, and this again goes back to what I said earlier. This is a real traditional beta, and you can read all the gripes you want online about how like they invited streamers into their beta. But bottom line is it's a beta. It's for testing the game. The volume of testing is probably sufficient, and if it's not, they add more people to the beta. It's not early access. It's not an open beta for a future free-to-play game that you can start building up some kind of like account for, like Hearthstone or Heroes was. Like, it's just a test. And when the test goes away, anyone who was in the test is conferred absolutely no benefit in the actual live game. So I don't really care. Like, if this beta was 10,000 people and they just stuck to that, like, that might not be enough people to test hardware. It might not be enough people to get like good pro level play or whatever, but it's not. It's a big beta. We know that there are probably hundreds of thousands of people on here. I mean, even the friends and family early access alpha would have been like 30,000 people. So I would be shocked if it's not 500,000 people or more at this point. And how long have you guys been waiting for games? Like, when I hit the play game button, I wait, 30 seconds
to
get a
lobby? So fast.
Yeah.
And every so often I get the skirmish stuff, but
which is fun.
It's pretty
anyway.
rare. It's pretty rare now that I get the skirmish mode, I feel like.
And I'm sure that's just a placeholder for beta.
Yep, probably. I mean, it's kind of cool too when you're filling up, just to be able to run around and shoot stuff and
explore the maps silly. A little extra, whatever. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that was our top 10 things we hate about Overwatch. And if you guys
really hate any of them.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, we didn't like it all, but I mean, I think some valid points, and I think some are just kind of adding fuel to the fire and, being able to kind of hang on to some of those emotions, because people are really passionate, which is really great about all this. You can tell that, especially like the last 3, 1, 2, and 3, people are really passionate about that. And that's a good thing to be passionate about. And it's a good thing to know on Blizzard's side that they're making a game that people are so passionate about, that they care about these, little minute details that probably really have no overall bearing on if they're going to play the game or not. So, all right. Our Salt Fest is over. We got to go ahead and jump in, finish up the show a little bit. So thank you guys so much for hanging out in the chat room and everywhere else. It was really fun to hang out with you guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. No emails this week, so if you guys want to have some questions, have a topic you guys want us to discuss on the show, send us an email to thepayload@BlizzPro. Actually, yeah, that's right. Yeah, thepayload@BlizzPro.com. I always forget because somebody else took Payload podcast. Yeah, anyways. So, got it. As far as reviews, no reviews either. So if you like the show, want to hear your name read out at the end of the show, and want to tell us we're doing a good job, leave us a 5-star review over at iTunes and Stitcher. We check them both. And let's do some shout outs. Jimmy, shout outs for the week.
Shout outs to, I didn't get permission to tell the guy's name, but there was a guy I met through playing Overwatch, and it was just really cool because we kept playing for a couple hours, and we would switch sides and be gunning for each other. It was really fun to finally, it's been a while since I've just randomly met someone through a match like that, and it was really cool to kind of make a new online Overwatch friend. So shout out to you.
Kev, how about you, man?
Not a whole lot going on, honestly. Just trying to stay busy with work. My first ever official game review as a critic is out for Legacy of the Void, and I've gotten some really awesome feedback. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out over on GamesBeat. Let me know what you think. Gonna try and spend a lot of time this week messing around with the Overwatch beta, because I'm trying to put together kind of like a snapshot of what the beta looks like and what the state of that beta testing has been for people who are involved and for people who aren't, just to see what has been up. So that'll be up hopefully on ZAM in the not too distant future. Other than that, gonna lay low and start to think about the holidays. Looking forward to some time with family and all that good stuff coming up here for Christmas and all the rest.
Nice. Well, as for me, school starting back up, so I had a really awesome kind of week off of just kind of chilling, 2 days off or 3 days off of work to kind of hang out and eat a lot of good food and stuff like that. So getting back into it, got literally 2 weeks left. I have one test. If I find out that I get higher than a C on this test, I don't have to take the final and I'm actually done for the semester. So I hope that goes really well. But yeah. Also, we hit 100 followers on our Payload podcast Twitter. So thank you guys so much. I think we're like the second or third most followed Overwatch podcast, which is really cool. I mean, we're not counting,
Nice.
but we always like to see. So thank you guys so much for that. If you like chatting about Overwatch and stuff like that, go ahead and head over to overwatch.blizzpro.com, where we've got a lot of great articles and stuff going up every week about Overwatch. Big thank you to our music guy, Jake Butno, over at jakebutno.ca. Does such an awesome job with the music. We could probably make 20 minutes of this show, just the intro and outro of this song, and people wouldn't, or our intro and outro song, and they would still probably listen and say thanks. Also, Dread Scythe of scythedesigns.com did awesome work on our overlay. We look really good in video. Except that I had to shave my beard, and those two guys got to keep it. So you guys look great, though. Almost done. Are you guys going to shave it at the end of November?
Oh God, no. Never again.
All right. Never again. If you like the show, leave us an iTunes review over at iTunes and all that kind of good stuff. Thank you so much. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, Google Podcast, everywhere else. We're everywhere that you want to listen to and download us. And of course, we're at overwatch.blizzpro.com when the shows go live every week. Well, guys, this has been episode 5. Thanks again so much for hanging out, and we're going to see you next week. All right. Bye-bye.
The Payload is a production of BlizzPro. Find out more about Overwatch at overwatch.blizzpro.com. You can find your host throughout the week on social media. Find Jimmy on Twitter at DJ Tyrant, Kevin on Twitter at Lack of Realism, and John on Twitter at Kicked Tripod.